In this video, we are going to review solving. So this says what is the solution? So that means we're gonna have to solve. So we're gonna try to get x by itself. So at the end, we want x equals and then a number. So the first thing we wanna do is make sure that all x's are on the left side. So we want x and then we want the number on the other side. So this x is not on the left, so I'm gonna move it. The opposite of 7x is negative 7x. 5x minus 7x gives me negative 2x. All right, so all the x's are on the other side, or on the left side, but not all the numbers are on the right side. So I'm gonna move this, so I'm gonna subtract 9 from both sides. This gives me negative 22. Still have this number on the left, so I'm gonna have to move it by dividing. So then x gives me 11. So that is my solution to this equation. This one is similar, so we're solving for x, so we need to get x by itself. Right now it's being multiplied times a. The opposite of that is to divide. I'm going to divide by a on both sides. C divided by a is just c over a. X is by itself, so I'm done. This one says draw a graph that shows a solution set. So I'm going to have to solve, so I'm going to want y and then a number. And then I'm going to have to draw a number or a graph at the end. Because this is only one variable, that means that I'm gonna have to draw a number line. All right, so our first step here is to distribute. So negative 3 times 2y is negative 6y. Negative 3 times negative 5 is positive 15. I'm gonna combine negative 6y and negative 3y to make negative 9y. Okay, all of my y's are on the left. Now I need all my numbers on the right. So I'm going to move this 15 over here by subtracting it from both sides. Negative 12 minus 15 gives me negative 27. Still need to get rid of this negative 9. I'm going to divide it on both sides. That gives me y and 3. And remember, when we divide or multiply by a negative, we have to flip the sign. All right, so this will be at 3. It's going to be a closed circle because of this equal to line. Then this arrow goes to the right, so this arrow goes to the right. So then that is my answer here. That's the graph of the solution set to this problem. All right, question 4. I'm dealing with a lot of numbers, so let's circle what we have. I'm dealing with a lot of words, so let's circle our numbers. And there's no letters, so we'll have to deal with that later. All right, so we have 225, and it says at most. So at most means that's the maximum or the highest that it can be. So it could be exactly $225, or they could spend less than $225. So that's less than or equal to $225. All right, so $35 said for a part. We're gonna assume here that they only need one part to fix the computer. $40 service charge, so that's something they have to pay no matter what work is done. So that doesn't need a variable, but then they have to pay $30 per hour. That word per means I need a letter, so we're gonna use X. All right, so then the question says, what's the maximum number of hours? So we're solving for X. So we can put these two numbers together and make 75. Again, we want X on the left and the numbers on the right. So I'm gonna move this number over here by subtracting it. That gives me 150. Then I need to get rid of the 30. I'm going to divide it. So we got X is less than or equal to 5. So the maximum number of hours that the repairman estimates is 5. All right. This question says, what is the value of P? So normally when we see this word value, we substitute, but there's nothing to substitute here. So we're gonna have to go ahead and solve. When we see two fractions, we have to cross multiply. So we're gonna do 3 times this, and 6 times this, but then we need to keep that equal sign. All right, so now we're gonna distribute. So 3 times 6p is 18p, 3 times 4 is 12, 6 times 4p is 24p. 6 times negative 8 is negative 48. I want all my p's on the left, so I'm going to move this to the left. So that's going to give me negative 6. Then I want all my numbers on the right, so I'm going to subtract 12 from both sides and get negative 60. And then divide by negative 6 to get p by itself. So my value of P is positive 10. All right, so this says W varies directly with V, so that we know that direct means to divide, so we're dividing W by V. So they're telling me that V is equal to 24, so I'm gonna put that under here, and that W is equal to -6, we're gonna put that up here, and we're just gonna have to simplify this. So -6 over 24 is equal to -1 over 4. The way our equation looks, because that's what they're asking for, is y equals x, and then we put the number in front. This question says it's inverse, which means we're gonna multiply, and they're looking for the equation. So we need to multiply these two together. So -1 times 8 gives me -8, 4 times -2 gives me -8, -2 times 4 gives me -8. So we know that -8 is our constant, and we know that our inverse has to look like this, with the number on top, so that number is -8. This one says draw a graph that represents direct variation. Direct variation is a straight line that goes through 0, 0. It doesn't matter the direction, but it has to go through this point. And it has to be a straight line. All right, let's move on to systems. So this looks for the solution to the system. We know when we're looking at a system that we can use Desmos. So I'm gonna go ahead and type that in. Okay, so that we know the solution is where they cross each other. The point where they cross each other is 1, 2. So that's my solution here, is 1, 2. All right, question 10 says draw an example of 3 different types of solutions. So this one, where they cross each other, we call that one solution, and the one solution is where they cross. 2 parallel lines is no solution, that's because they're not gonna cross. No cross, no solution. And then if you type in 2 equations and you only get 1 line, that's called infinitely many. Because that means that every solution on the first line is also a solution on the second line. All right, so back to systems. So they want us to put these in and select each point that is a solution. So I'm gonna go ahead and put those 2 in. Remember, inequality symbols are down with a keyboard. Okay, so that's our picture. Remember, we look at the darkest area. So we're looking at this dark purple area right here. So I'm gonna type in each of my points and see if it's in that dark purple area. So the first point they give us is -1, -3. Let's see, so that point showed up down here. It is not in the dark purple, so that's not my answer. The next one is 1, 2. All right, that showed up in the dark purple, so that means it is an answer. Our next one is 2, 0. Okay, that did not show up in the dark purple, so it's not a solution. Our next one is 4, 6. That did not show up in the purple area, so it is not a solution. And we'll try the last one, -3, 0. Okay, so it showed up in here in the dark purple, so this is also a solution. So my 2 solutions here were B and E. All right, so our last problem, we're seeing a lot of words, so let's circle our numbers. And there's no letters, so we're gonna have to use X and Y. All right. So it says 5 family members went to the carnival. So we know that 5 people went. They spent a total of $31, okay? So that is different because this has $, this does not, so that's gonna have to be a different amount. All right, so it says $5, that's gonna go with my dollars, and they said that was for students, so we'll make that X. So it's $5 for each student, so we're gonna write that as 5X. Then it says $7, so it's gonna go with my dollars, and that was for adults, so we'll make that Y. And when we do cost, we add. So what we're missing here is right here. So let's go back to see what 5 means. So 5 means the number of family members. So some of those were students, so we'll represent that as X. Some of them were adults, so we'll represent that as Y. And then the number of family members we add together. Now we have a system of equation, so we can put those in Desmos to find our solution. So I'm going to type these in. Okay, so we got 2 lines. We know that our solution is where they cross each other. So I got my solution as 2, 3. But let's go back and see what the question is asking for. It says write and solve a system, so that's what we did, to determine how many adults. So the letter that we used for adults was Y. My Y value in here was 3, so 3 adults tickets were purchased.